Welcome back everyone. We are here for our final and the most awaited session of the day, that is CEO panel discussion on vision for a talent-centric organization. It is my privilege and honor to invite on stage the eminent dignitaries for the session.
Yep.
Shri Dinesh Kumar Khara. He is a career banker and chairman of State Bank of India, the largest bank of the country.
Thank you.
Shri Sunil Mehta, Chief Executive, Indian Banks Association. He is a seasoned banker. He has served as ED of Corporation Bank before taking over as MD CEO Punjab National Bank.
Thank you.
Shri Rajkiran MD National Bank for Finance, Infrastructure and Development, former MD and CEO Union Bank of India. He has served as an ED of OBC before taking over MD and CEO Union Bank of India. Mr. V. Vaidyanathan, CEO IDFC First Bank. He has been associated as senior executive with Citibank and ICICI Bank and as a promoter of Capital First. Shri Debadatta Chand, MD and CEO Bank of Baroda. Prior to taking over this assignment, MD and CEO, he has been the ED of the same bank. And Shri Monish, partner Deloitte, who is the moderator of the session. Thank you, sir.
So much.
Over to you. Welcome, sir.
A warm welcome to all of you and welcome to the CEO's panel here. The topic is that, how do you build a talent-centric organization? As India is on its journey to become a 5 trillion economy, the role of banking and financial services cannot be understated. What is a good rule of thumb is that when an economy grows at about X%, the financial services have to grow about 2.5 times. So we are going to look at anywhere between late teens to early 20 kind of growth, and this growth has to be sustained not just by financial capital, which is close to about 21 lakh crores, which is the net worth of the public sector banks and the private sector banks all put together. It has to be propelled not just by the digital capital, which is all the investments that the banks have made in the last few years. It has also to be looked from a perspective of the physical capital in terms of brands and branches that the financial services have invested. But I think the key differentiation is actually going to be the human capital. So rather than talking about the capital adequacy ratio, I think we should be really now thinking about the human capital adequacy ratio, that are the people and are they empowered and can they really make this change? So if you look at the math, about 21 lakh crore capital employed with about 15 lakh employees translates into more or less 1.5 crore net worth per employee. So if you are able to convert the employee into an entrepreneur, then we will actually come up with a new term which says that not just return on capital employed, but return on capital employed per employee. So I really am looking forward to hearing from our leaders, and maybe my first question to Mr. Khara on the podium here. Sir, that SBI over the last decade has been a real pioneer in terms of ushering the transformation in terms of talent management, in terms of technology which has gone into building your HR practices, the incentive and the productivity measures. So the question for you, sir, is that what is going to be the next wave of transformation from a talent and people perspective?
Thank you. Before I answer your question, the perspective the way I look at bank and the banking industry is that all this while we were known to be part of this service industry. But I think we are making a move from the service to the knowledge industry. And if at all we have to be knowledge industry, then we have to ensure that we must keep on upgrading our employees on an ongoing basis. And when we talk about upgrading employees on an ongoing basis, we are quite cognizant of the fact that the banking environment today has got a paradigm shift in terms of the kind of risk which the banks are exposed to. Naturally, when banks are exposed to certain risk, bank need the talent to manage those risks also. And we in this banking space, the kind of risk management skills which are required are very different as compared to many other industries also. And on the top of it, the kind of scale which we all deal with, we need to have such skills available almost on the go. It's a 24/7/365 industry, and perhaps the kind of environment in which we are all operating, we cannot have any lead time or lag time. So this is the broad environment in which you have to work. For an institution like us, which is 217 years young, we have to blend the legacy with the current practices. We adopt various practices in this, and what we have done for last about 5 years plus is that we were having the apex level colleges all this while. We are having 6 apex level colleges. We have constituted an academic council for those apex level colleges. And when I talk about that academic council, that council has got a representation from the industry specialist, people who are into various HR practice areas with various industries. They are also represented there. Because today technology has become one of the major pillar for any bank. So that's why what we have done is we have also brought in some of the HR heads of some of these leading technology companies. And also we have brought in experts from leading management institutes of the country. So this academic council is essentially meant to deliberate upon what all we are required to bring in as far as the generation of knowledge is concerned, because these apex colleges are responsible for creation and generation of knowledge. The dissemination is also one of the functions for them, but primarily they are responsible for creation and generation of knowledge. And in these apex colleges also we have brought in people who are having a research focus, who are not from within the bank, who are from the academics, and who have got the experience of the industry also. So they have been brought in there. So this is essentially for the creation of knowledge piece. And then of course the dissemination has to happen through a medium which is very well received by our employees. And there also we have seen a significant change as compared to the past. Very often I'm still reminded of the B schools. If at all you have to attend a session, you have to have a pre-study. This generation does not like studying 30-40 pages. Thanks to mobile, people are only interested in reading in a capsule form. So naturally, that being the palette, so we have to ensure that whatever we disseminate, we should disseminate in a form which is acceptable to this generation. And today, of course, for a bank of our size also, we have got about 40 to 45% employees who are very young, who would be less than 35 years of age. So that is something which is the other piece which you have done in terms of dissemination of knowledge piece. So I think these are some of the things which you have done to ensure that we should stay ahead of the curve. And of course, it's our constant and always it's our effort and endeavor to see that we should be in a position to identify the skill gap. If we are unable to bridge that skill gap from people within the organization, we are quite open to hire such skill sets from the market. Broadly, these are the things which we have done, but yes, of course, there are many specifics also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And I think, a round of applause. Thank you so much, sir. My question to you, Mr. Chandra, actually picking up from what sir said, is on taking skill from the market. And your bank has been sort of a pioneer in that, on taking lateral hires at leadership levels and across specialized skills as well. And the choice between building the skills versus buying that skills. So probably, sir, your observations and maybe some learnings on lateral hires will be great to hear from you, sir.
Yeah, it's something Bank of Baroda is unique in that way. So for almost now more than 5 years, we have blend of both the external and the cadre as far as the management is concerned. And typically, most of the external hires have been more on the strategic side and the platform function side. The operations still being managed by the core cadre people. And what we see also, it's a very clear strategy of the bank. We say very clearly, suppose the bank has to be efficient, agile, then anywhere we feel, while the market has moved ahead of me, then I need to have someone who take me to the market level. And that is how we pursue in terms of our strategy on external hire. So we keep on evaluating ourselves in terms of where we are in at this point of time. And in case we feel that maybe when I say market may be a public sector bank or a private sector bank. And in case we, if there is a gap therein, we hire people. Some of the initiatives like collection vertical, something very unique in a PSU concept, wherein we wanted somebody from the private sector to head that collection vertical. Wealth was something which is again not the normal native of the bank, then we wanted somebody to take us on the wealth side. So this is how the strategy we go, but at the same time when we ensure that, because you have a large pool of cadre, you also have to create capacity within them to be the market leader or the leader in the entire banking system. So we keep a, like if there is a scenario where the head of that particular vertical is a external hire, then we put a cadre person as a second person to get the knowledge transfer done and also pass on the wisdom to the other person. So it's working very well for us. Actually, it's almost now 5-7 years this concept was implemented in Bank of Baroda. And as on today, frankly, as MD, I don't find any difference in terms of when they do come to me or work as a team. So they are all assimilate themselves very well within the organization. So that's something very, very critical. Like when we have external hire, the first thing we have to ensure that the acceptability should be very high so that it doesn't create bit of what you can say friction therein. And we are fortunate to have all those issues behind maybe long back. And the team is quite robust now and they are doing well. The second aspect very important, that whether it is external hire or internal hire in the today's market, we need to again keep them updating in terms of their skill set. And Bank of Baroda, we do have two systems where we run a very extensive We Lead program, which is called a capacity building for all officers. At the same time, a performance appraisal is also a AI-driven performance appraisal tool where almost 85% of the appraisal is captured out of an objective number rather than subjective. The only subjectivity in the performance appraisal is only 15% in the entire 100 marks. And this performance appraisal tool keeps on telling the person on a regular basis with regard to their strength and weakness. And then there is somebody supervisor to tell them what to improve, what not to improve in those ways. So it's working well, and I believe suppose we look for a sustained organization for future, it's not that the strength of the bank would take the bank for future, but also the HR is important, what people you have. Those are also equally important to see a sustainable organization for next couple of decades. So we as a bank planning both to strengthen on the business side, which we have recently announced our quarterly, at the same time also creating adequate capacity, and this I won't say experiment, but this is a clear strategic call to have blend of both external and market related package. At the same time, the internal cadre is working very well for Bank of Baroda.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for the inputs. My next question, sir, is to Mr. Vaidyanathan. And sir, your bank has been recognized as sort of the best digital bank as well. And digital skills, technology skills are not really native to financial services per se. So what is it that you do to attract that talent, onboard it, maybe reskill and train the talent as well? Your experience and your perspective, sir.
See, first of all, if we are not digital, then there is a big ecosystem developing in the country in the form of bureaus, in the form of account aggregator, ONDC, Aadhaar, all the ecosystem coming here. We cannot take advantage of it. We will be speaking about it, but we won't use it. And we will become fundamentally uncompetitive. For example, KYC. Physical KYC costs 500 rupees. The KYC done through OTP-based, UIDI costs 5 rupees. So 500 rupees, 5 rupees. So basically, our ability to stay in this new ecosystem will not be there. Similarly, robotic process automation. Human being costs 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees a year. RPA costs 3 lakh rupees a year. It works 24 hours. So our ability to, we will be fundamentally not only cost-wise uncompetitive, we will also become, we won't have the capabilities which the customers of tomorrow or customers of today will want, because we can't give them in the human world, physical world. So that is where the importance comes. Now, with regard to how to attract the talent, and it is important, and I really want to be of assistance to my, to the audience here and to the panel here, that to have the image of a tech organization attracts tech talent, and it makes a very big difference. Number two, if you are a good tech bank, gradually the people in the market get to know, vendors get to know, other bank colleagues get to know, our own employees begin to feel. So that also creates a buzz, and the buzz also attracts good talent. Number three, the output of that technology. Output technology meaning just by saying a good tech bank is no use. Everybody's presentation is half the presentation is on technology only these days, right? No use. But the output of technology has to show in the products. How quickly you open a bank account, how quickly you foreclose a loan, how quickly so it has to show in the output of how personalized is our statement of account to the customers. So it has to show. And therefore, when we do that, then then people experience it and want to actually join. Many times we ask these young college students coming from IIT, etc., कि बस हमारा बैंक क्यों आए तुम, right? कहते नहीं, I tried your app is very good, I want to join your bank. So it has to finally show, and then people you attract.
That's great to know, sir. And probably, sir, just a follow-up question as well, sir, that as you're building a bank, leveraging young talent from outside, and then managing the, the in-house talent as well, and how do you make sure that, everybody in the bank is now on the same page with respect to the digital maturity and then taking that to the market?
See, this is a real issue. Okay. You have talent from outside or even inside. Inside also tech talent, outside also tech talent. But issue is not about tech all the time. I have found that in managing tech people, a lot of people management is going on. I remember one instance in our own organization, there was one organization having the applications. Another part of the organization running, let me say, architecture. This team was doing its own job, architecture is doing its own job. They will not, so that there will be some issue the other in the organization. So someday we have to change the structure and then say that application will be the leader and architecture will be part of the stuff. Then always debates are where the middleware will be, whether the middleware is part of the above the bus or below the bus. So these are complications that come. And to be in the leadership position, we ourselves should understand technology. We should be, of course, everything, we can't be sitting and writing code. We can't reach that level of technology proficiency. But understanding the architecture, understanding the building blocks of technology, what component affects which component, the CRMs, the whole stack. If we understand it, our ability to supervise the teams will be good, our ability to make changes will be good, our ability to take brute calls about who should report to whom will be good. if we don't understand it, as leaders we'll just be floundering, and nothing will happen. So I think awareness of technology at leadership levels and business leaders level, to me, is very critical.
Thank you so much, sir. Probably, sir, a question to you, Mr. Rai, that you pioneered some of the key changes in performance management for public sector banks. The question is that what do you think is the most significant people-centric opportunity today for public sector banks?
Thank you. I'll give you a brief background about how the public sector setup works on the HR side. We take exception to State Bank of India because they evolved much better systems actually. The challenge in State Bank of India, like in public sector setup, except State Bank of India, they have some commonality like recruitment and all that, but then they have evolved for a period of time. But in public sector setup, the recruitment is very common, where the choice what Mr. Vaidya has, we may not have, because we have to go through a process which is dominated by the government system and following all that regulations and all that through a system. So I have no choice. So that is one part. Second, onboarding of those people who come in, also that is not very systematically done actually. That way, a probationary officer of a State Bank of India and a probationary of any other public sector bank, qualitatively they are not same at the end of the probationary period. Because like public sector, now we have invested a lot on that, but still I think we have a lot to catch up. And then the appraisal system, because the public sector doesn't have a feedback system. In performance appraisal, what needs to happen, that we need to give a feedback to the officer, because in public sector, every officer you talk to, he thinks that he is doing a great job. You talk to him after a promotion process, if he has failed, he will blame everything else other than his own performance, because somebody has done injustice to him, that is the way it is. So performance appraisal system doesn't have a feedback system, and everybody wants to be goody-goody with everyone. This doesn't work in a commercial organization. So the way we recruit and onboard has influence on this. So what in Union Bank we did is actually to address this issue, we built a talent management, like a performance appraisal system, which is technology based. Today, whatever thought process we have in banking, the transformation has to be built on technology platforms. Anything you think of has a technology background, and it is much easier to implement, it is easy to deliver and all that. So we built it on technology platform. Now it starts with giving the right KRAs. The target setting also in public sector setup is very haphazard. It can change from person to person, regional manager to regional manager, and many times organization goals also shift. So the focus changes very frequently, people get confused. So that's why setting the KRAs, the very scientific way, in the month of April itself, that every officer knows what is his KRA, what he needs to achieve is very important. Roughly what we saw, that if the KRAs are properly done, because then there is a confusion in public sector, somebody is doing administrative job, somebody is in supporting job, how his KRA can be measured, everything can be done. When we did that, more than 99% of the officers could pick up their KRAs and they were on that track. So it can be done easily. 70 to 80% have business goals, so it is very easy to monitor. Others also we can put them into that bracket. So what we did is we defined the KRAs. April, actually, target setting also happens very scientifically. It is not based on what you have done last year. If you have done very poorly last year, 15% on that is not a target. You should, because now we have so much of data, pin code wise, a housing loan in that area, how they are doing, personal loans, vehicle loans, corporate loans. So based on that, we have a database. Based on that, we how the industry is doing in that area, how other branches are doing in that area. We said this is your target, not based on how you have done last year. So like that, the target setting is scientific. Then there is a process of acceptance. Basically, once the target is set by the system, you can have a discussion with your boss and negotiate and settle. So that it is not only KRAs, it is an accepted KRA, it is not dumped by someone. So that is the model we developed. And then there is a quarterly feedback system. See, at the end of the year, he knows exactly, suppose if he is a marketing officer, he knows exactly where he stands, where is the median, and whether he is above the median, below the median. So he can't go on telling the world, I did very well, somebody damaged me. So the feedback system, which it is very important, and I am very happy that once we built it actually, at least 5-6 banks have copied this model, because the same technology and all that, because every bank is trying to build on that. Because this is what we need. Actually, we structurally have not changed. Even though public sector bank is doing very well today, we learn from our lessons, we are doing all the right things today. But if you don't change structurally, particularly on the HR side, technology we are doing a lot, but on the HR side, if you don't do it now, maybe we will end up with the same problems later.
Once again, Rajkiran, on this point, see this having the HR policies have a big role to play in this. Okay, particularly because I have a lot of goodwill for the state-owned banking system, and I have been a big beneficiary of the state-owned banking system in my life. So I'll say this. Now you have structure. They are hiring. Now what are they hiring? You have heard of technology. What is the past experience? I was running a circle in Jalandhar or North India. But technology is not something that, like, it's not a generalist job. You need a proper cadre of people who grow in understanding technology. So therefore, and it's not about importing, in fact, you hire somebody at the top, that person, by the time, suppose you hire a head of technology for SBI from outside, by the time usko, is technology ko stack ko samjhega, usko 6 saal lag jayega. Kyun nahi? Khara sahab, yes or no? Right? So therefore, you need a good homegrown technology, somebody who understands the technology stack. The people like Mr. Khara, etc., have understood banking for 30 years, 35 years to become where they got. Like that, you need a good homegrown, high-quality technology team that is grown into the system, not somebody who's been to 25 places, but who has grown technology. And therefore, to build a technology cadre of people who understand the infrastructure layer, who understand the middleware layer, who understand SaaS engineering, who understands core engineering, that people understand design, people understand the customer interface layer, that full stack has to be understood and learned. Otherwise, people coming outside will be kind of clueless. They can manage, but so I do think that we will need to build that. In our bank, for example, we were able to build it. Why? Because we're a new bank. We started in 2019 at merger. IDFC First Bank was born in 2018. Take 5 years. We started something from scratch. A pure team on technology. And we know it. I understand technology at my level. It's possible to do it because you understand, you build a new stack. And therefore, this technology experience layer for the whole organization, to develop it as a specialized capability is a very important skill to develop in state-owned banks.
I fully agree with you what you are saying, but also there are various examples across the globe also. When it comes to banking, people say that it has become an IT industry.
Correct.
But what we have also understood is that for really ensuring that we offer the right technology solution, we need to have bankers also, because there has to be a bridge between what the bank and what the technology professionals are. Because technology professionals may not appreciate what the bankers need, and bankers may not appreciate what the technology professionals need, how it should be conveyed. So that is something which our own experience was, and what we did, we created a department wherein we brought in people, because what is actually happening today is that when we hire, about 85% of our new recruits, both at associate level and also at the officers level, they are all engineers. So the advantage with us is that we expose them to the branch operation for about 5-7 years. And then we bring them to this, we pick them up, it's a selection process, and we pick them up, expose them to this new role where they have to act as a bridge between the technology and the business. And we are finding that it is actually working very well, because as a bank, what we thought at a point of time that all of us run a huge operational risk when we are having a dependence on the external vendors. So today, almost about we have got, as compared to external vendors, almost about 15 to 20% of our own resources, and remaining are with the vendors. But ideally, we would like it to be somewhere around 50-50. The reason why I am saying this is, there is an example with us in this industry. I don't know if somebody is there from Indian Overseas Bank or not. Indian Overseas Bank, when it came to developing core, they developed the core in-house. That was perhaps the only bank which developed the core in-house. At a point of time, they were unable to upgrade this core. Then it came to a situation where all those who had developed the core, they had superannuated and had gone. and their core was at the bottom perhaps, and that had become a big challenge for that bank. So I think what happens, and this is our experience also, we have got a company where we have got a partnership with TCS, 51% is held by TCS, we are holding 49%, we call it a C-Edge. We wanted to hire through this entity. Today what happens is all these colleges, technology resources wants to come only and only if they see the future.
Correct.
In a company like this, they feel that they are neither banker nor technology professionals. So there was a broad general reluctance in terms of hiring or maybe getting the resources. So that is my other experience, because of late we started hiring people, because what you mentioned in terms of skill set, it is a very important skill set which you cannot ignore. And we have got experience of some of the international banks who say that they have about 75 to 80% of their employees on roll who are actually technology professionals.
Correct.
What Mr. Rajkiran rightly mentioned, in the public sector, that is the other handicap which we face. Professionals, we are supposed to expose at entry level, we are supposed to expose all of them through a written exam. Professional does not want to write any written exam.
Yes.
So this is the reality in which all of us have to operate. So naturally, these are the boundary conditions which are available to us. And within those boundary conditions, we have to find a way. So if at all, and also the young ones, if at all we want to hire them on contract, they don't want to come. Because there is no future, there is no career. Nobody would like to put their 7 years at stake. Where will they go after that? Or maybe 5 years at stake. So these are the constraints in which we have to work. But nevertheless, I am happy that we are still finding some way to remain relevant, survive and prosper and develop well also. Thank you.
It is a very
Thanks a lot, yeah.
interesting, because in NaBFID, I have best of the both worlds. Actually, we are mixing both. Like, there are certain advantages of private sector, there are certain advantages of public sector. Public sector basically is a lot of multitasking. People are very broad but not deep in anything. Whereas private sector, they are narrow but very deep. That's why where you get the skill sets. Actually, when we look at a specific skill set on IT, risk, forex, treasury, you get a lot from private sector because they are very deep. But ask him anything else other than that, he doesn't know. Whereas in public sector, you have with the diverse skill set. As you come to leadership roles, actually the people with multitasking, with diverse roles, they succeed better. Because actually as a department head, they can do very well. But then not as a leader. Leader has to have a diverse experience. I am very happy to say that one of the private sector bank, actually one of the leading private sector bank, is looking at public sector for some of these inputs now. So I think there is nothing right or wrong. Maybe private sector has some advantages when it comes to HR, talent and other things, whereas public sector is not in the domain. I was trying to explain within the limitation what we have in public sector, what we can do. Basically, since you specifically mentioned that there are certain innovations actually which works actually. It is not that it will throw up the best results. It is a very long term. Today you take a PO, it will take 20 years for him to reach the top. So it is a very long process. But can we compromise on that with the kind of culture we have and all that? Internal grown talent is always better for us. In between we take some outside talent and try to experiment. But actually the experience is mixed. As Mr. Chand said, some of the banks could do that, could absorb to some extent, but many banks, they are not able to do that. So it is a mixed set of experience, but it is very good. But in NaBFID actually, because it is a new organization, what we are doing, we are at the top level, we are taking on contract, specific skill sets we needed, mostly coming from private and foreign banks. We are also trying to build a cadre like nationalized bank, because the organization culture will be brought in from the long-term cadre which is working with you, not by these people who come in for 3-5 years. They come for a particular purpose, they finish their job, they go. So organization culture has to be built, particularly long-term organizations will survive based on organization culture, not by the temporary skill sets which come in, which deliver certain numbers at a particular point of time and go away. So, but then there is a hybrid, there is nothing right, nothing wrong. You need both the worlds, so and best of both, and then work together.
Thank you so much, sir.
And of late, since the state-owned banks are also beginning to hire talent from outside, it is actually meeting the both requirements. Like Mr. Khara said, to have experience across is also helpful for him. He also wants depth of knowledge. So that when you are hiring, for example, in the case of, say, Bank of Baroda, if you they hired a head of wealth management from outside, he has a deep experience in wealth management. He's building it. But they also have general management who's doing this. I think in that sense, it can be, a bit of, by importing talent from outside, you're doing the best of both worlds, at least as of now.
No, thank you so much. Let me ask Mr. Mehta as well. The question, sir, we have is that, the public sector banks are extremely uniform in their policies, procedures, the recruitment drives and so on and so forth. So how does public sector bank really differentiate? So taking a cue from what Mr. Rai said in the beginning of his address, it will be good to get your perspective as well that, how can public sector banks attract and retain talent and differentiate themselves? It will be good to hear from you, sir.
So I think we all have heard the eminent panelists, and one thing is very clear. One size fit all is not applicable in terms of HR policies. Every bank will have to invent their own systems because what may be good for a new generation bank established 5 years may not be good for a bank established 200 years because they have to make a blend of the legacy and the talent. So every bank will have to customize their HR practices to suit out their organization culture, long-term goals, as well as the available talent pool with them. Another thing which is very clear and as rightly said by Mr. Chand is there can be a combination of the in-house talent and there is a scope for lateral hiring. So lateral hiring, we can have a skill set where the gap is that can be bridged. Now attracting talent and retaining talent. So one thing I want to make very clear and which all of you will agree that talent is not only interested in getting higher packages. If that be the case, you won't find good talent in IAS and IPS services. They don't pay very good packages. You won't find POs in SBI and other because the packages they know from the beginning may not be as good as they may get in the private sector. But a lot of people have an interest in doing something for the nation, something for the system. That's why people go to the army, people go to system. They have a zeal to go to those areas and they work. So it's not only the pay packages, it's the service condition, stability, a social respect they get. So public sector banks have got these plus points. They can offer these stabilities and they can attract talent. Now, the differentiating is since we are moving from a traditional brick and mortar system to the virtual banks and that transformation is happening, there is a need to create a carve out within the bank. To create a carve out within the bank that where you can have a homegrown broad banking talent and then where you can have a homegrown tech talent. And then tech talent will need to be offered equivalent promotional avenues, incentives. They can be retained for a long run, maybe incentivized and paid in it differentially than the general talent because they get a better deal in the market. So a bank within bank, you can have a digital bank within the main bank. That can be a new idea, a new generation idea. So banks can seriously think about it to attract the talent, and the public sector bank, depending upon their size, can adopt to this strategy. Another can be verticalization, where a specific, even the government has permitted, especially for CROs and CTOs, something down the line can also be created to attract the talent and pay them the better packages. So these options are available. And another thing, within the, if you see the basket of human resources within the public sector bank, I was surprised as an MD of PNB when I have gone through and interacted with the boys and girls young age 30 to 35 years. There was such a good talent available there, and they were there in the bank for two reasons. One thing is working in a public sector, stability of the job, and they say yes, especially the ladies, they thought we'll be there in the Delhi and we'll be, if you have to go to IDFC, you may have to go to Bombay, but here you can be in Delhi. So locational preferences also give you an advantage, and public sector bank has got that network that we can accommodate a lot of number of people at their home stations or nearby. So some these positives, if they are blended into HR practices, it can provide a lot of room for the banks to attract and retain the talent, and incentivization for a verticalization or bank within bank can be thought of as future generation strategies.
Thanks a lot, sir, for that insights. My question to you, Mr. Chand, is that what's the role of learning and development in skill development, right? And the question is that how do you go about building skills and pooling of skills which are relevant in the marketplace today?
No, that's very important. Reason being, see, a lot of banks have different skill set available with themselves. So it's something how do you create those skill set to be institutionalized in that way. And as far as we are concerned, we are a very extensive trading system within us. Rather, Baroda Academy is almost doing some kind of a collaborative efforts with the Capacity Commission of Government of India. So in that way, the talents are very, very important, but then again, it's not specific to a couple of people who are working in that department, it should be institutionalized. How do you create cadre for that? Like we as a bank have extensively gone for a verticalization concept. Then do you map each of the employee in terms of their USP in that sense that somebody is very trained in treasury, risk management, operation, MSME. So we are extensively going for mapping of all these employees at this point of time. So it's very, very important to have all these, what you can say, the domain of the organization in terms of skill set be more of a institutional nature rather than person specific. Otherwise, then again, a person to come and go, and then you will have a lot of challenges there. So we are clearly conscious of the fact that we need to augment this part and put in good amount of resources to augment the skill set and making us something contemporary as compared to the entire market. When I talk entire market, not only the PSU but also the private sector, including foreign banks. And that's something we are very keen to do going forward.
No, thank you, sir. My question to Mr. Khara, sir, is that productivity has been a big focus for all banks, public sector in particular as well, and there's a fair bit of investments which have gone into technology and AI, ML, and other areas. Having said that, work-life balance is again one other important aspect as well. So probably your thoughts to say that how do you marry work-life balance and technology and productivity to meet the customer expectations?
Mr. Khara works on Sundays also, remind you.
I am not included in that work-life balance. Well, of course, what you mentioned in terms of work-life balance, it's a very, very, I think, mostly asked question if I visit any of the academy or the colleges where the young boys and girls are there. But yes, of course, I do understand their anxieties, do understand their concerns. I think it's a bit of a transitory phase where perhaps there are some anxieties on the part of people about the work-life balance. If one really look at work as a life, then the work life is taken care of. So I would, and I think for majority of bankers who have put in more than 10 years, the work becomes the life. So their work life is automatically taken care of. But as far as the younger ones are concerned, they also have to orient themselves for this. But yes, of course, what I mentioned, it should be taken in lighter vein, otherwise also perhaps all of us experience likewise. But yes, what we are certainly trying to do is that we are trying to take away some of the mundane jobs which they are required to do. And with that in mind, we are now working on some of the Gen AI kind of applications also, which will be a major lever for the productivity boosters for these employees. And also we are trying to see that how to enrich their job. I think work-life balance perhaps can be achieved by enriching the job also. That is something which we are attempting. And as well, we are giving them opportunities to grow. If they want to acquire some specific qualification, we encourage them. Whatever is of their interest and taste, we are trying to nurture them into those areas so that they should not feel neglected as far as their personal interests are concerned. So that is something which is being attempted. And also to address their knowledge gaps so that they should not feel bad. We have come out with, as of now, already a call center is only dedicated for employees. Apart from that, we have created something which is Google of SBI, we call it Ask SBI. If at all somebody has got any, if at all somebody is not clear about any product, somebody is not clear about a procedure in particular, they can simply put their question and the answers will come. So that's how we are trying to address their anxieties, the work-life balances, and also trying to see that they stay engaged and committed to the bank.
No, thank you so much, sir. The question, sir, Mr. Vaidyanathan, is that for a public sector bank, ethics has always been a big integral part of an employee value proposition. And as from a private sector perspective, how do you see ethics playing a role as a part of employee value proposition and one of the key factors which could probably attract potential talent?
Very important actually, because we were a new bank and we had the choice of defining our building blocks. So we defined 3 things for our bank. We said ethical bank, digital bank, and social good bank. So we made these 3 pillars and we made that as the founding theme of the bank. Now, I have realized that when you say ethical bank, you can say it, but to live it is every day you have to make an effort for it, and it's sometimes expensive. For example, many times we see a terms and conditions. Then we see the terms and conditions, then we feel, yeah, it is not so ethical also, we should correct it. When you correct it, it costs you money because you're losing 200 crores of fees. Now, do you want 200 crores of fees or do you want to be ethical? Now, that way all banks are ethical. No bank is unethical in that sense. But every time you make a statement, to live it sometimes takes cultural change and also takes financial costs. But we have found, we have lived it for 5 years at a stretch now. We are gradually experiencing that customers are beginning to appreciate us for it. Uska value immediately nahi milta. It's not like I gave you something to get you back. There is no value trade. But the image gets built over a period of time, over 4 years, 5 years, and maybe 10, 15 years. And then the benefit to the brand will come over a long period of time. But I believe there is a big value in it.
Thank you so much, sir. My next question to Mr. Rai, and the question is that, at your stint at Union Bank of India, you've done a lot on the performance management system side of it and implemented that as well. And a lot of public sector banks have sort of emulated that also. So the question is that, what's your sense on whether, how do you link remuneration with outcomes, performance with outcomes, and really create a outcome-oriented culture? Anyway, the remuneration is with Sunil Mehta, because he negotiates and settles that. So we have no say on that. So public sector, only thing what we can do is good words. Basically, we can appreciate people and maybe reward them with better postings and better training opportunities. So we can't do much on the remuneration side. But yes, there is a lot of incentivization can happen otherwise also system, because many times, as Mr. Mehta said, people join us for various reasons. There are, many times it is not only the money which drives, the performance or why people work in a particular organization. So here actually, once you have a very clear performance appraisal system, basically very scientifically built, because earlier it was very subjective. In the last minute it will go in the month. So that's why people used to say, your performance appraisal rating will depend on how many times you wished your boss during February and March. Other 10 months what you have done is not important. February, March you should be visible, so that March he rates you higher. That subjectivity with the technology platforms, it goes, and now you know who is doing what, and we have a lot of mapping about what the training he has gone through, what he has done across his career and all that. So we can actually give them better challenges and better assignments. Why this is important? Private sector has a very good scheme of things to push up people with the right talent. It is very structurally designed, and people who are good, they get identified, they are incentivized by way of money, and also they get better and better assignments and they move up. In public sector, the structures are missing. Again, exception to SBI, but then most of the public sector is not there. A robust performance appraisal system is the basic requirement of that, and then better talent management, trainings, putting them through different assignments, maybe even foreign assignments, so that they grow to the leadership level. Another thing what we miss is, we are more of transactional managers, operational manager, always running after targets and all that. That vision setting which is required for a leader doesn't happen.
So none of them actually who are operationally very good may not have that 30,000 feet view which is needed for a leader. So that's why, like Peter Drucker says that they reach the height of their incompetency. That happens, and you reach there and then you don't know what to do. So I think very structured way of grooming people, identifying the right talent at middle levels and then taking them up and creating leaders, more and more leaders is very important. Whoever has come up, they have come up their own way. It is not because system has pushed them up. So that's why actually I think we need to have that in public sector. I am talking in the context of public sector, taking State Bank out, other banks have to get this act together. So they produce better and better leaders and who lead the industry. We have examples, actually public sector bankers who have gone to private sector, where the private sector is in trouble, corrected those banks and brought them on track. So that means there is no dearth of talent, but they are not systematically groomed. They have come because of their own efforts. So that is what we need to build in the public sector setup.
I really appreciate this. One last question to you, Mr. Mehta, is that a lot has been spoken about the digital skills which are required, to build the next generation of banking services and the banking value proposition. And the question is that how do you create a good incentive structure, both from existing talent as well as to attract new talent to incentivize this?
So I think Mr. Rajkiran has already dwelled upon this subject. They said that a better performance management system where KRAs are well quantifiable and person knows that he performed well can get rewarded. So that way some incentive structures we at IBA level also and at the public sector bank level also have seriously started thinking on the lines of creating a PLI. We have already created performance incentives at a bank level. So those banks will perform better, their employees get a little more salaries and incentives. The next round of things we are working on that how do we map up the individual performance and that individual performance can translate into the incentives that can be given to the employees. I think that system public sector banks gradually are going to adopt. Private sector banks have already adopted it. There is a concept of fixed pay and variable pay, and that thing can come into the public sector in times to come. The another important aspect is within the existing, till that thing is fully metallized, as Mr. Rajkiran have already said and Khara ji said, a proper skill development through in-house trainings with external, as well as a proper incentivization in terms of recognition through the performance management system will really lead to creating a talent pool within the public sector for the.
Got it. No, thank you so much, sir. I know we have run out of time by 10 minutes, but I'm still going to take the liberty and have one rapid fire question for each one, and just in a minute. But the question to each one is that, what do you think, as we're talking about a talent-centric organization, what do you think is the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity? Just in a minute each, so we'll take 5 minutes, and I think the audience would really appreciate that perspective as well. If you don't mind, we can just start with this, with you, sir.
You mean biggest opportunity?
Yeah, the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity. You can choose one of two as well, but
doesn't matter. In talent management.
Yeah.
See, how to keep tech talent happy after they come to the organization is also as important as attraction. And I'll give you one small example. One day I went to Bangalore to a tech hub, and I was talking to the people there how we were all paying them well, but they were also unhappy for something. So I said, what are you unhappy about? They said, when I'm opening the PC is taking 5 minutes to open because security person has put so many controls and rules into it कि PC नहीं खोलता तुम्हारा, वो थक गया यार, वो कितना यार मैं बटन दबाता रहता है, I have to wait for 5 minutes for PC to respond. मैंने पूछा क्यों रही है, उसको फोन करो, वो कहता है hide security. Now security is important, but cannot block the performance of people. Then second thing is when they come to the organization sometimes, then if the organization is not tech wired, if businesses don't understand technology, what he's speaking, that person is not understanding. So to make the whole organization tech enabled and tech mind, okay, not just a tech team, to my mind is a very, very important part of making the whole thing work in a very joyful manner.
Thanks. I think it's important that we have simple swipe left and swipe right to make things simple. But sir, to you, Mr. Mehta.
The biggest challenge is differentiated pay to tech talent, and the opportunity is availability of a good tech talent in the market.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Khara?
I would say opportunity and challenge both are continuous upgradation. It's a challenge for the organization, but an opportunity for the employee. If they continue to upgrade themselves, there is so much of value. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Vaid?
Actually, the main opportunity is the whole customer profile whom we are dealing with has changed a lot. The savings habits have changed. The technology orientation of customer has changed. So, this is the biggest opportunity. So, banks have to get the act together, like whether it is continuous upgradation, what Khara Sahab is mentioning, having the right talent to adapt to customer need. It is not like the earlier days, this is the product I have, if you want, take it, otherwise leave it. It is like, you need to understand what customer wants and develop accordingly. So, that is the opportunity, but then the challenge is how to get that technology in, how to get that talent in, and how to retain them, actually, like they don't get frustrated. How to bring that organization culture, so that these people who come in with the talent pool, in public sector it is not a very congenial atmosphere today for an outside talent to come and succeed, because a lot of resistance come from within. I think it is a challenge actually for the CEO to manage this, but opportunities lie there, but the talent hunt has to go on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Chan?
Yeah, let me take the challenge part. Actually, my belief is normally we define talent as something having a knowledge therein. But to our sense, talent is something not only the knowledge but also the impulse to perform. And in case a combination, that's a talent, then the biggest challenge for me is to how to retain that talent. And the second aspect, I need to be careful how to again institutionalize the talent into a larger set of people. And I think in case you manage this challenge, then possibly that's the opportunity for you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Please a warm round of applause for our esteemed speaker. Really appreciate all the input, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I see. Sure.
Thank you all dignitaries for sharing your
Thank you.
deep insights
Thank you so
and
much, sir.
adding immense value to the discussion on the chosen topic. May I request Shri Gopal Murli Bhagat, Deputy Chief Executive, Indian Banks Association, to present a memento to our esteemed panelists as a token of love and gratitude. In our endeavor to promote environmental sustainability, we have chosen a plant as a memento. Please, sir. Thank you once again, all the dignitaries. I would like to request Shri Anandorup Ghose, Partner Deloitte, on stage to summarize today's deliberations. Yes. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for staying in the room till this hour. I know traffic is becoming worse outside as the clock ticks around, so I'll keep it short. But I wanted to highlight a couple of things that were very interesting today, and I thought as a takeaway, it's important for us to perhaps remember this. One is the fact that this is a unique gathering because we had perspectives from not just public sector banks, but a very significant representation of private sector banks and other private sector financial institutions. I think that brings in a significantly enhanced color to what we discussed today. One of the things that we heard is that while this is a while we are still a financial services business, we are regulated, we have all of the challenges that financial services have traditionally had. We are also now increasingly a knowledge-based technology services company. And that creates its own set of dynamics when we're looking at hiring or retaining talent. And therefore, therefore how we think about that entire process of what we do with our talent within the organization today, or how we get talent from outside, is a very different kind of a dynamic. Across all the panels that we've had today, or across even the conversation that Mr. Gopal Krishnan did, this thing kept coming back again and again, that number one is that that whole point about technology is just not anymore a something that's going to come and something that we need to be aware of or careful of or anything like that. It's very much present in our organizations today. And one of the points that Mr. Vinay Razdan said in the morning is that we should not be looking at technology with fear. And again, in this panel particularly, that kept on coming back again and again, that it's important that we adopt and adapt to technology as soon as possible. And it's not just about adopting it, but also increasingly a lot about understanding how it works. One of the other things that I think came through very strongly is, and this is the panel that we were discussing that I had on stage earlier, was on incentives and compensation. And one of the things that came out there very strongly was that it's interesting, like we wanted to talk about incentives, but we ended up talking about culture. That it's not so much about how much you give or how you give or what form of incentive you give. The fundamental dynamic is about how you deliver that incentive and what people understand as the reason for why they're getting that incentive or why they should be eligible for that incentive. The other thing that I found interesting today, and which all of you actually contributed to, was the discussion in terms of what are the key drivers for you as an organizations, in your organizations. And you all talked about the work-life balance challenge, and I think it came back again and again that how you look at your workflows, your work processes, how you use technology is the way to solve that work-life balance challenge. Also the fact that there needs to be more pooling enough capabilities to be able to address faster skilling. But the one thing that stays with me today is the fact that all of you said, 78%, if I'm not wrong, of people in the room said that their primary loyalty is not with anything else but with their professional code, which I thought was an interesting reflection of how you feel about what you do. But as I end, I think as we have gone through this day, it's been an interesting, like I said, a day where a couple of points kept coming back about how we should be looking at talent differently from what we have traditionally done in the past. And there was a lot of proactiveness in the definition of what needs to be done. A lot of practical insights I thought came through in some of these conversations. But as I end, I think I wanted to again thank you all for spending this time here and also looking at and for letting us at Deloitte and also IBA come up with some actionable insights on which we can then start, then we can work with some of you in terms of defining what the next way of talent management in public sector banks could look like. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a good ride back home and a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for summarizing in such a script manner. Ladies and gentlemen, I now request Shri Gopal Murli Bhagat, Deputy Chief Executive, Indian Banks Association, to conclude today's HR conclave and propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you very much. Friends, very good evening to you. Now, I am the last hurdle between you and high tea arranged outside. So, you have to bear with me. Once again, very good evening. We have reached the concluding session of our conference on futuristic talent-centering organization powered by technology and driven by analytics. Mr. Ghose has summarized the discussions that took place today. And as mentioned in our inaugural address by our Chief Executive, Shri Sunil Mehta ji, IBA has been taking many initiatives for the benefit of member banks and their staff. Hope today's session will be very helpful to you. When you go back, you can choose to implement many of them in your own way. I am glad we could organize this conference and grateful to all the participants for encouraging us to organize such events in future also for the benefit of banking sector. I propose vote of thanks. I take this opportunity to thank Shri Bhanu Pratap Sharma ji, Chairman FSIB, for sparing his valuable time with us, for sharing his perspective, which are important for the banking industry. I express gratitude to dignitaries who graced the occasion with their participation. Shri Atul Goyal ji, MD and CEO of PNB, Chairman IBA, Shri Dinesh Kumar Khara ji, Chairman SBI, Shri Sunil Mehta ji, Chief Executive IBA, Shri Rajkiran Rai ji, MD NaBFID, Shri Chand, MD Bank of Baroda, and Shri V. Vaidyanathan, MD and CEO of IDFC Bank. I also thank our sponsors who have made it possible to arrange here. I would like to thank Taj President for excellent hospitality arrangement. Last but not least, my compliments to Team IBA for working tirelessly for overall success of this conference. Big thanks to you. I request you all to please join us for high tea outside the hall. And once thanks to Mr. Gopal Bhagat also for spending vote of thanks. Thank you.